Now let us go on to documentary feature film. Now, this one, again, I don't know a lot of these, but let's quick go through them. Nominees for documentary feature film are All That Breathes, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, Fire of Love, House of Mad Splinters, and Navalny, or Navalny. Yeah, Navalny. There you go. I only know about one of these, and that's just from hearing about it on NPR and stuff like that. But Logan, what are your thoughts on this lineup?
Oh man, unfortunately, I have not gotten to see any of these. Mm-hmm. I think that last one, the Navalny, was actually about the guy who survived an assassination attempt. Maybe. I'm assuming. I mean, the odds of it being a different or about something different are probably, I don't know. That's not a very common name there. So I really haven't seen all of these. That's the only one that I have a slimmer of recognition about. I mean, if that's the case, then we have a more, what do you want to say, activist voting slate, then that could certainly kind of make it. But I haven't seen any of these.
Yeah, fair enough. Megan, what do you think?
I think it was interesting because I also haven't seen any of these films, but when I saw the list, the one that jumped out to me is the one that I've been seeing everywhere. So it is the one I think is going to win, even though I haven't seen it, and that's Fire of Love. That's the one I've seen like everywhere, like just like. I don't know. Like, I think it's on like HBO or if it's on Netflix or something. But a lot of people have been talking about it, and I know it has a lot of buzz. So I think that's going to be the winner. But other than that, the other one that I was kind of like looking through the posters. The other one that I kind of saw also was the first one, All That Breathes. It's actually on Netflix. I remember like seeing the poster for it, and it looked really interesting. And like I've like gone through the letterbox, and people have said it's really good. So. That one looks interesting, but I definitely think it's going to be Fire of Love.
I'm with you. I've heard a lot about Fire of Love, and from what I do understand, it's basically a couple that not chase, but go to different volcanoes, and and basically they're like the adventure seekers, and this is just their hot romance, pun intended. And so yeah, I think that's been getting, because it's been getting a lot of the press and a lot of the attention. I think they're going to probably get it, or it'll be an upset. Either way, I don't know. They don't tell me nothing here. So let's move on to now. This will be interesting. Original score, and Logan, I know you're a big fan of the score. So let's go with you. And this, I definitely have thoughts on. I mentioned it a little earlier in the show. So the nominees for the best original score are All's Quiet on the Western Front, Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Fabelmans. So again, hard picks.
Yeah. So I think, again, it's probably leaning towards Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think just there was a lot to unpack in that movie, the music being part of it. I think there's a I don't know. You could also argue that there was so much going on that it overshadowed the music to some extent in certain areas. I think I found, but I'm still gonna go with Everything Everywhere All at Once for this one.
Yeah, that's a solid pick. Megan, what are your thoughts?
If I'm being honest, I don't like. Just maybe because I heard like the soundtrack for All Quiet on the Western Front. That's the one that's the most memorable to me right now. And it was, again, like we talked about, it was a very jarring score. It was very, very interesting choice, like what they did. And it was very good. I definitely see why it was nominated. I'm not gonna lie, like I can't specifically remember how good the score was, which is also kind of like, I feel like a lot of these categories for me this year there's not really been a lot of like huge standouts particularly for like categories that I'm usually a huge fan of, like cinematography, best score, like things like that. Like none of these are huge standouts to me. I definitely think I would have to go back and listen to the soundtrack, the original score soundtracks, to really decide on that. But I kind of want to go with Everything Everywhere All at Once also, just because Some Lux, like they're a really good. I mean, they're a band they're really good. The original song that they made for the film was also really, really good. And I think that, I mean, there's just so much going on in that film that, like, again, like you said, like the music kind of gets jumbled up in it. But I feel like if I listen to it, I feel like it would. I feel like it definitely adds a lot of layers to that film. So I kind of want to go with that as well. But I think I'd have to like go back and listen to all the soundtracks for all the nominations.
Yeah, it's hard because, you know, again, these are all just you know, huge films. I have a place in my heart for All's Quiet on the Western Front, but there is a lot of like deafening silence in scenes because it's, you know, tension. Like Megan and I were speaking about earlier, it has that interesting choice of instrumental kind of accent to the moment that completely caught me off guard for a period piece like this. So, you know, but I don't think that's gonna, you know, make it win the best original score. I'm curious about the Banshees of Inisherin, only because I'm sure they have some really authentic Irish, you know, songs, and that could probably just hit like a nice group of people the right way in the Academy. Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I hate to say this, I mean, it was a fantastic movie, but I'm not really recalling the score as much. I'm just going to say Banshees of Inisherin because I think it's you know, it's got that you know, that character that I think the Oscar will embrace. So, and I think there's a good, you know, I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to get some other good awards. So yeah, I think they're gonna miss on this one.
And I think it's interesting because I was just looking at like the composers for these movies, and I realized that the guy that did Babylon, Justin Hurwitz, he was the one that also did Damien Chazelle's other films, which were La La Land, First Man, and I think he'd also did Whiplash. And also those are all phenomenal soundtracks. Like some of my favorites, like even like First Man, which was like a movie about like Neil Armstrong going to space, like it had a really, really, really good soundtrack, and I thought it was really underrated. So I mean, I think I definitely have to go back and listen to Babylon's soundtrack again because it's one of those things I feel like got overshadowed by just how much was going on in that film. And then I also just saw that Fabelmans was composed by John Williams. So and I honestly had no idea until I just saw it. So, and I don't really remember the Fabelmans or the Banshees soundtrack that much. So I think I really have to like go back and listen to all of these soundtracks. I think I'm going to do that tomorrow to really decide on that.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Look around. John Williams is John Williams, and again, Fabelmans was a beautiful movie, very sentimental, but I don't remember the score. And I'm not saying that Steven Spielberg had to have an iconic score like Star Wars or, you know, any of the other John Williams classics, but yeah, I just nothing jumps out at me for the Fabelmans. I will tell you this: Babylon. When you hear the soundtrack, the score, it will be it's a lot of percussion, a lot of brass, and you know, the Roaring 20s, so it's a lot of energy. It was enjoyable. I just don't know if I think Babylon's going to get snubbed, quite frankly. So I'm picking Banshees of Inisherin because I think that's the one that will win. The one I had the most fun with was Babylon, because it was just a lot of energy, especially at the end. it was like again, it was a fever dream of noise. It was insane. There's a band that is they're an underground band called Too Many Zoos. If you pull them up online, you'll see they started off as buskers in New York subway, and they play like an alto sax, a horn, and a drum, and the sound almost reminded me of that, and it was a lot of energy, very very rich, but again, I don't think that's Oscar an Oscar winner. So
Yeah.
good picks though. Good picks. Now going along that same thought, let's look at the best original song. Now we don't have Celine Dion doing her big iconic stuff, so it'll be a little hard. But there are some familiar ones here, and I think we're going to have an interesting winner here. So the nominees for the most original song, we have Applause, and I don't know what that I don't know what that is. The next one is Hold My Hand from. Oh, I'm sorry. Here you go. Applause is from Tell It Like a Woman. I never heard of that movie. Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick. Lift Me Up from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Natu Natu from RRR. And This Is Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. So, Megan, we can let you start off on this one. What is your pick for the most original song?
That's hard. I think my personal pick is This Is a Life, Everything Everywhere All at Once, just because that was such an emotional, I think by the time that movie ended, I saw that movie four or five times in theaters, but the first time I saw it, by the time that movie ended and that song was playing, I was just I was sobbing, sitting in the theater, sitting in that seat, just crying, especially when that song was playing. And I think it's such a great way to round out that film. And it's Sun Lux who did the score, and it's also Mitski, who's super super emotional.
I love Mitski.
A lot of very very emotional music. So and really really fantastic stuff. So that's my personal pick. I also really love. I'm not gonna lie. I really love "Hold My Hand" by Lady Gaga for Top Gun Maverick. I went to see her live, and that was the last song that she played at her concert. I really love that song a lot. I'm not gonna lie. But "Lift Me Up" by Black Panther. I haven't really listened to that. I only heard it when they played it for the movie. But that's Rihanna's comeback. She hasn't made music in 4 or 5 years, and that was a song that she written for the movie specifically, and that it was her comeback to music. So I'm excited to see her perform. I definitely have to re-listen to that song, but yeah, that would be. I'm sure that song is great. Natu Natu I don't remember from Triple R, but I also completely wait, pause. You know why though? Because I haven't finished watching Triple R.
Well,
that's why I've tried to watch it, which is a mistake because I really, really want to see it in theaters, and I just haven't. I've just because it's 3 hours long, and I've been trying to watch it on Netflix, and then something happens, and I get distracted, or somebody's the first time I ever watched it, I was watching it at a friend's house, and his Wi-Fi died an hour in, and we just never rewatched it. So there's always been an issue, but I'm sure that song is fucking awesome because it's
oh my.
It's a Bollywood song, so I'm sure it's amazing. And I also want to say I'm very surprised that Triple R didn't get nominated for an international feature because it was one of the biggest, most talked about international features this year. So I was really surprised they didn't get nominated for that.
I want to come back to that, but yeah, Logan, let's hear your thoughts.
Oh, if there is any justice in the world, RR would win something. And if this is what they get, this is great because I get exhausted watching that scene when the music goes every time. The dancing is so forceful and so precise and so just it's a little microcosm of the movie, the way the two guys wear out all the other English and everybody else, and they're just watching them just go to town. It's a test of two wills. If there's any justice anywhere, it will be that one. I don't think it will be, unfortunately. it's still going to be my vote because I want to be wrong on
Yes.
that movie. So yes, not to is my vote. However, I'm gonna say, unfortunately, I think it'll probably be Hold My Hand that'll win.
Lady Gaga. Yeah.
Yeah, Lady Gaga. I mean, come on, how do you vote against Lady Gaga? Like,
I know, and she's an Oscar darling now, so
exactly.
how are you gonna vote against her?
You know, I think I don't know. I wasn't as impressed with Lift Me Up, to be honest. I thought it could have. It was just too even the whole time, and I didn't. I don't know. It didn't build the emotion for me like either of those two did. So I will die on the hill of Natu, but I will accept Lady Gaga if I must.
Yeah.
I hear you, and again, these are all strong points, and yeah, I see. I'm not familiar with applause, but I will say this is I'm going to lean towards Lift Me Up because of the emotional resonance of Chadwick's passing. That's the only thing that I think might give it a little bit more of a lift because it's it's obviously a film that deals with the losing of Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, and I think that may just give it a little bit of that sentimental oomph. Natu was a real fun, energetic, exciting song. I will say this: the reason why I don't think it was nominated for an international film is because it was too much for the Academy process. Not saying like
no, I believe that.
It was just. I mean, and again, I love Bollywood films. I saw Pathan, just a little while after, and again, it's. And again, I hate to say it, but it's like if you were to take every Tom Cruise and every Fast and the Furious movie and you compress it into one movie. It has everything. It has everything. And again, I did like that in RRR it was, what do they call it? Historic fiction, where it's based in a really, real period in time. But obviously, the things they were doing were supernatural. So it's, and that can probably go against you. And unless you're doing it, to be symbolically supernatural, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, where that's kind of the gist. But it's basically like a super action film with dancing. And I don't think the Oscars know how to process that. So,
disappointing.
Yeah, I think RRR may suffer because of that, because the Oscar isn't about having fun. It's about and I think Lift Me Up. I'm going to pick Lift Me Up only because again I think that Black Panther, they don't want to snub Black Panther because there's not a lot of African American representation, and because of the Chadwick Boseman shadow that's kind of cast over that. Okay. Moving on to the Best Adapted Screenplay. Now, this one I have as the nominees are All's Quiet on the Western Front, The Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, Living, which I did not see, don't know anything about it, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking. All right. Let's go with Logan. What do you see on this list of adapted screenplays?
So this was an interesting list. I recognized 3 of the movies. Obviously, I think we all did those 3. But I also recognized Kazuo Ishiguro from some of the other novels that he's written. Clara and the Sun in particular, and I think it all started, at least for me, with Never Let Me Go, which I think had a movie adaptation that wasn't particularly awesome. So I was not familiar, actually, even with the book or the movie, to be honest. I hadn't read this one of his, but the books of his that I had read in the past have left a mark. Especially especially Never Let Me Go. Remains of the Day a little bit as well. So I looking at the category and thinking of kind of adapted screenplay from the novel and thinking how much the novel may and the author itself may play into it as opposed to just the name. I'll throw this one out there, and I'll go with Living for this category.
All right. Megan, what are your thoughts on best adapted screenplay?
Yeah, I have seen 3 out of 5 of these movies. I haven't seen Living, and I haven't seen Women Talking, and I definitely think those would be strong contenders for this adapted screenplay, because I was just looking at Living, and it's adapted from Ikuru, which is the Akira Kurosawa movie. I know it's like one of his last movies that he ever made. So I definitely think that would be a strong contender. Women Talking, I think, would be too. I just haven't seen it. But I think out of all of these that I've seen, I think All Quiet on the Western Front, just because it's such an iconic, like, it's a very iconic story. Like, that's a movie that, like, it was a movie that I saw, like, the 1930s version was a movie that I saw when I was in school. And then the book, of course, was, like, this, like, it was a huge deal. It was, like, during World War II, it was, like, a book that was being banned by the Nazis, like, all of this stuff, you know what I mean? So I think it's a very, very kind of iconic story, and it's being retold, like, for a third or fourth time. So I kind of think because of that, it gives it a lot of boost in terms of, like, adapted screenplay. So I kind of am thinking that it's going to go to All Quiet on the Western Front for this category.
I'm going to agree with you, Megan. I think it's going to be All's Quiet because, yeah, it's it's when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, like the novel, or like the it's in the zeitgeist. I mean, All's Quiet on the Western Front is just, you hear it and you're just thinking, wow, that that's just been around forever. And I'm really curious, how do you get a adapted screenplay for Top Gun Maverick?
Because it's a sequel. Because I think that's Glass Onion is the same thing, where Glass Onion and Top Gun are both, like, sequels.
Yeah.
So I think that's what counts as, like, a adapted screenplay. I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
So Black Panther could have been here too.
Yeah.
It could have been. Yeah, if you think about it, it could have been. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure, because, like, Glass Onion, like, that's just, like, he's recreating that from, like, the first movie that he made. So
Bill and Ted's Face the Music, that could have been here?
absolutely.
Okay.
We've established that. Yeah, but yeah, I'm going for All's Quiet on the Western Front just because it's such an iconic bit of literature, and I love the film. So I think it's going to win, because I think that is what the Oscars can wrap their head around. They're like,
and I think they're probably going to push for that too, because it's one of the bigger names on this list, and it's the one that makes the most sense. So I feel like people are like, even if they haven't seen all these, they're going to be like, oh yeah, All Quiet on the Western Front, I've heard that. So
it's
probably like one of those things they're going to just throw in there. So I can see it. I can see that winning for sure.
Yeah, that's on the multiple choice. That's the one you check. Okay, so now let's go to writing original screenplay. Now this, I think I can get into this one now. Nominees are The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness.
Yes. Yeah.
Logan, you can go first. What are your thoughts on this?
Again, I think as we're winding down on the list here, I think we're going to start having some of the same names pop up in our heads, and
Right.
yeah, this is, I think, going to go to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
Again, good call. I think we're getting it's getting very narrow.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be the title that's going to get thrown around for the next couple of categories. But I agree with that. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once, just talk about original screenplay. Talk about the most original screenplay that I've seen, like, ever. You know what I mean? One of the top 10 craziest things I've ever, like, seen. So I definitely think that's going to be the winner. But I also kind of want to give, like, all of these screenplays are so fantastic, though. Like, Fabelmans is kind of like an autobiographical, story about his own life, which was really awesome. And then Tar was great. Triangle of Sadness was great. Banshees, I also really want to give like Banshees its due because it got nominated for a lot of stuff and it kind of had a run. Like I definitely think that Banshees would have done better if Everything Everywhere didn't come out the same year. Because it was kind of a lot of people really, really kind of like that, and I thought it was a fantastic screenplay. So I mean, if Everything Everywhere didn't win, I definitely would like to see that go to Banshees. So, but my choice again is Everything Everywhere.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that as well. I believe Everything Everywhere All at Once has such an original concept that is executed in a way that allows you to go for a ride but still be emotionally vested in it. It's not just spectacle for spectacle's sake. It has an endearing quality to it that I've not seen with anything with that much going on. You don't get lost in it, and I think it's gonna run away with a lot of awards. Banshees of Inisherin, it's well written and it's a beautiful, Irish story. But against Everything Everywhere All at Once, I just don't think it's gonna pull out that win. Fabelman's same deal. But here's the thing: Fabelman's beautiful movie, beautifully shot, beautifully directed. I don't know if the screenplay. I don't know about the screenplay. I honestly don't know. And Tar, I don't know what was significantly standoutish about the screenplay for Tar. Interesting story, but I mean, it had some great scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's it. Maybe there were just some really good dialogue scenes that stand out. I do remember some pretty good scenes in that film. And Triangle of Sadness, that actually had a lot of great dialogue, but it was just so long.
Yeah, it was very, very long.
Yeah,
I never remember because it was like you and then my other friend who was like, we're watching this film, and this movie is like 3 hours long. So like so Julian's sitting on like my left side, my other friend is sitting on my right side. We're like an hour and a half into this film. I turn and look at my friend. First of all, is a very jittery person. Like he just likes to move stuff around. I noticed like 30 minutes ago that he's just like not moved, and I look at him passed out, and I'm like, oh my god, he's asleep. And then for whatever reason, like, Julian was just like this, like the whole time, just very still. So I didn't look at you because I thought you were awake the whole time. And then the movie ended. We walk out, and he's like, "Oh no, I was asleep for like half of that." And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like both of them had fallen asleep during that film. It was so long.
I'm a still sleeper. I get it. Yes, rich people suck. But oh god, that was so long.
Yeah, I liked it.
Okay, so, but yeah, I think we're all on the same page. Everything Everywhere All at Once is just so original and well done. All right, we are getting down to the big ones, the big three as they were. Okay, so
before.
Oh, before. Yep, there you go.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to be in directing now. The nominees for Best Directing are The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. The exact same ones from
exact same slate.
Exactly. Last story. So, Logan, what are your thoughts on the best nominees for directing?
So, I think this one is interesting. Because as much as it's the same, and as much as we're seeing a lot of the same things again, I think we have a little bit of a different competition here in that we have Everything Everywhere All at Once versus Steven Spielberg. And that kind of gives me pause because you have, phenomenon versus established body of work, and that's got to play, I think, a lot into this kind of factoring here, and I'm honestly not sure where it's gonna go. Look, you can justify anything. You can say Spielberg's had his due, he doesn't need another, so give it to the newer up and coming ones, or you can say it's Spielberg, of course he gets it. Of course this is, up there. But I don't know. I'm between those two. I'm gonna go with Everything Everywhere All at Once, but I wouldn't be surprised if body of work does, singular event.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah, no, Megan. Yeah, no, that was a good
oh,
one.
I was gonna. No, I
Yeah.
I definitely get that. I definitely agree. Like Steven Spielberg, I mean, icon, auteur, in the film industry, just of course one of the greatest film directors of all time. That being said, though, Steven Spielberg has been nominated for a lot of films in the past like decade or so that have not really gotten like a lot of recognition compared to other films that have come out that year. Like I think he did like Bridge of Spies. He did like The Fablemans. There was a couple of other movies that he had done. I think he did The Post, which are all very strong films. But I think that Steven Spielberg, like, I think that not. I mean, he's a fantastic director no matter what. But I think a lot of people remember him for like a lot of his really early works, like Jaws or he like early like Jurassic Park, like stuff like that. Like, So I think for me, like as of right now, I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is really the momentum that's happening like right now. And I think with like certain, I don't know, like with certain actors or certain directors, I think that they like to give them those nominations, but like it can be a nomination for a film that's not necessarily their best work, but because like they are who they are, they'll give them that nomination. But I always feel like with certain things, like they'll always give it to like whoever is actually doing like the really like whoever's making like the really really good stuff that year. So I personally very strongly think that it's going to go to the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Just because I think that Spielberg, they're kind of just giving him like I think they're kind of just giving him like the nomination just because to be like, oh, like Spielberg made a really strong film this year, but it's not the strongest film of the year. But we still want to give him that recognition, that nomination. And it's one of those things like it's kind of like the Meryl Streep effect where like they'll nominate Meryl Streep for like literally everything that she does because she's again one of the greatest actresses in all of cinema, but she never really wins a lot of those roles anymore, which I mean is kind of unfortunate, but I feel like Spielberg is kind of one of those situations this year where it's not like the strongest film that he's made, but they want to give him that recognition. But I mean, again, like Everything Everywhere is just kind of on a roll, and I definitely think it's going to be the Daniels.
I agree on all those points, and yeah, I think I was just looking up. Steven Spielberg won for Schindler's List, of course, and Saving Private Ryan. Mm-hmm. Schindler's List won Best Picture and Best Director. So there you go. And he was nominated. Yeah, he's been nominated since the late 70s. Nominated for Close Encounter, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Absolutely, yeah. But basically everything he's done, yeah, he's been nominated for, and like for good reason. Like he's one of the greatest directors, literally of all time. So absolutely, and The Fablemans is an incredible film. Like I really really love that film a lot.
It's a beautiful film, sentimental, and as we all are cinephiles, we love that the genesis of being a filmmaker and seeing how he goes through the steps of just loving film and putting his craft to work. I love that. I love seeing artists develop on film. Whether it's a painter, a poet, a musician, a director. I love that. He's not going to win it. I don't think. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. He is so good, and he's been so good for so long. It almost becomes white noise, and it could work against him. I think at a point it does. Almost like again, it's the Meryl Streep effect. Like they'll get nominated for everything, but it's not their strongest work, but they will get nominated for it. So I think that's kind of the Steven Spielberg. Like I'd be really surprised actually if he won over like a lot of the other people. Like I feel like with certain things, I feel like with directors they always want to give it to like somebody new. Like with certain things, like actors, they never do that because actors they always want to give it to people who have never won before and who have had a really long career. But I feel like with directors, they're always trying to give it to like whoever had like the best movie of the year. And I think that's going to be Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like you're saying, it's got the heat. It's got the buzz. Yeah. Fablemans is a beautiful story, but it is also an autobiographical thing, and I just don't. I don't know if people want to win an Oscar for writing a movie about themselves. I just think the Daniels are going to run away with it, and this is definitely one, and we're gonna probably hear their name come up a couple more times before we're done here.
Yeah.
So,
Before the night ends, yeah.
Now, okay, so now let's jump into the best actor in a leading role. We're getting down to it right now. So, the nominees for best actor in a leading role are Austin Butler as Elvis, Colin Farrell, The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser as the Whale, Paul Mescal in After Sun. Don't know it. And Bill Nye in Living, and we were talking that was another nomination, but have not seen those two. Megan, let's start with you. What do you know and like from the best actor nominations?
So this is a really good category, I think. The only one I haven't seen is Bill Nye in that's how you say his name, Bill Nye? Is it really Bill Nye? Okay, Bill Nye in Living is the only one I haven't seen. The one that surprised me that I was really excited about was Paul Mescal in After Sun, because After Sun was a movie that went on under a lot of people's radars, and Paul Mescal is a fairly new actor. The only thing he's ever really done that's kind of like big was this TV show called Normal People on Hulu, which was very, very, very good. And Paul Mescal is incredible in After Sun, and it's like one of probably top 10 movies of this year. Just really, really fantastic performance, and just like brand new actor getting nominated. It was him getting nominated, and Brian Tyree Henry and Barry Cohen for the supporting actor roles. Like, it was those three that really surprised me, that I was really, really happy about. So just want to give a quick shout out to Paul Mescal for that, because he's a fantastic actor. I think he has a huge career ahead of him. But I definitely think that it's going to be between Austin Butler for Elvis and Brendan Fraser for The Whale. It's just because it's been the two of them like back and forth for like best actor wins throughout like award season. So like I think it was like I don't know, it wasn't the Emmys, but it was like the Golden Globes, the SAG Awards, the BAFTAs, like whatever it was. It just kind of bounced between the two of them. So you don't really know, like with something like that, you don't really know who it's going to go to. But for me personally, maybe because I haven't seen Elvis, I don't know, but I really would like to see it go to Brendan Fraser for The Whale, just because first of all, I think he was fantastic in that role, and also I just want to see like the Brendan Fraser, like I want to see that comeback. You know what I mean? It's just like a comeback story that I really, really want to see, and I really would love to see his speech, like just to give him that spotlight would be really amazing. So he's kind of who I'm rooting for. But also Colin Farrell, didn't bring him up, but he's fantastic in Banshees. But again, Brendan Fraser is kind of who I hope to win this year.
No, that's a good one. Logan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll say definitely. I'm exactly the same. I think Brendan Fraser needs to complete the full comeback, win the best actor, and just take it home. I will say though, I do give a bit of hesitation, if only to Bill Nye, because if you're talking about body of work and giving it to an actor who's been around and hasn't won it yet and is deserving of it for everything that he's done, and kind of, that like you just said, giving it to somebody who hasn't gotten it yet, I think he could be the dark horse in this race. So I wouldn't necessarily count him out on that. And I wouldn't mind if he won either, because he has been in a great many things I have enjoyed immensely that are not Oscar worthy. But yeah, Bill Nye, I think I would not be sad about, but yeah, I want Brendan Fraser to complete the comeback and take it home.
That's an excellent point on Bill Nye. But I think we're all on the same page. I think just the narrative of a guy, starting off strong, going into obscurity, and having a comeback. There's a drama that you can't write with that. And I think Brendan Fraser his speeches have been inspiring and heartwarming, and the Oscars want that soundbite. And they're going to put him up there, and he's going to blubber, and everybody's going to, just fall in love with him all over again. Austin Butler's young. He's got a long career ahead of him. Funny thing is, at the Alamo, they showed a re-release of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I didn't realize until I saw it that Austin Butler was in that. He played one of the people that was attacking. They were originally there to attack Sharon Tate, but
Yeah.
Quentin does the historic fiction, so they ended up going to what's his name, Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt's place, and it was a very Quentin Tarantino scene. But yeah, I'm sure Austin Butler's going to do many entertaining things in the future. But this is Brendan Fraser's to lose, and I would see. You're right. If it's a body of work, Bill Nye, but I don't know Living. I'd have to see Living to really have it.
Yeah, and I think it also has to do with because the Oscars is all about the politics of who's winning what, who's got the most kind of the most push for award season. So the only reason I said Jamie Lee Curtis is because she's had a lot of buzz throughout award season, and she's won a couple stuff, which was surprising to me. So I feel like Bill Nye, again, if he won, that'd be really amazing because he's had such a long career, but he's not. There's not been a lot of conversation around his performance, which is unfortunate. Which is why I don't think that he'll win. But if he did, that'd be amazing. But I think just because there hasn't been a lot of conversation around that performance or around that movie in general, which I wish there was more of. And there's a lot of and again, I'm glad that they're recognizing films that are that we don't even recognize, even as as movie goers. I know after Paul Mescal and After Sun, completely out of nowhere. That nomination was kind of out of left field, but I'm so happy that he was nominated for that. So there's a lot of really, really good nominations this year.
Yeah, and I definitely, thank you for putting that on my radar. I'm going to check that out now. Because I did not know that name from Adam, and now I got to check out his work. So very good. All right, now we're almost at the end here. So let us now look at, and this is going to be a big one, the Best Actress in a Leading Role. Mm-hmm. And, no surprises here. The nominees are Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde. That's going to be interesting. Actually, no. Okay, I'm not familiar with this. Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie. I'm not familiar with that one. Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans. And Michelle Yeoh for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Do we even really need to talk about this? I mean,
nope.
I think there's more interesting conversation around the other actors.
Let's talk about the losers.
Well, I mean, I think we all kind of know it's going to go to Michelle Yeoh for Everything, Everywhere. Again, the push for that movie has really, and I think she's won everything that. The same with Ki Kwan, has won everything that she's been nominated for leading actress this year. So I think I'm not to speak for everybody, but I don't know. That's who I'm assuming is going to win. But it's interesting, this category, because there's some Michelle Williams. I felt was more of a supporting role than a leading role. Was more supporting actress for this, so it's interesting.
Exactly.
But she's very good in it. And then I know Andrea. So the one that surprised me was Andrea Riseborough. Mm-hmm. And she's actually a very, very good actress, and she's always been very, very underrated. I don't know if you've ever seen Mandy with Nicolas Cage.
I have. She plays
the wife. Yeah. So and she plays a lot of kind of supporting roles, and she does a lot of horror film. And I've always thought she was a very, very strong actor. But I haven't seen this movie To Leslie, but I'm glad that she got nominated for this. I haven't seen it, but she's a great actress. And then Ana de Armas was the one that also surprised me for Blonde, just because that movie was so controversial. But yeah, so, and then Cate Blanchett, incredible as Tar. I think out of all of these, she would be my second choice for Best Leading Actress. But again, my definitely top choice is going to be Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to go with Michelle Yeoh for this, if just for everything else that she's won and where she's gone. For me, it holds a little bit of an extra special place because of her work in the Star Trek universe, and always got to find a way to tie that back in. Her run as whether you want to call her a captain or Emperor Georgiou on that, and the potential for her running her own Star Trek series coming up, hopefully in the next few years. Just her work and everything has been incredible, and to have that brought to Star Trek, I would certainly, it'd just be a nice feather in her cap.
I agree, and again, we're all on the same page on the winners. I will say, yeah, and I have not seen Blonde only because I did hear that it was, and again, heard, do not know, but heard that the way they portrayed Marilyn Monroe, which is what Blonde is about, was very disrespectful, and it was not based on anything; it was fictional.
Mhm.
But apparently, it took a lot of liberties in how they portrayed her being manipulated and abused,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I'm not really interested in seeing that. If
Yeah.
it was based off of real events, maybe it would have some sort of a significance. But I don't want to see basically fan fiction, you know, belittling and dehumanizing somebody like that. I'm
Somebody
not really.
who's
Yeah,
somebody who already is like somebody who's already. The thing is too is like with Blonde, it's like, you know, you're taking a figure that's already very like hypersexualized. Like her whole entire life, she has been like through her death. You know what I mean? Like she died at such a young age, and like still to this day, like she is somebody who's very very hypersexualized, and it's a very sad thing. Just because she had such an amazing like body of like work, like acting that she had done, but like nobody really remembers that. And then just to have a movie like Blonde, like I haven't seen it, but again, like from what I've heard about it, to like take that and then kind of just like take this thing that like the image that she had and then just kind of make it worse, like, you know what I mean, like to have it be like there was just it was like I heard it was very it was kind of, you know, it was disrespectful to her as a person, and who she was. I will say though, the one good thing I did hear about it was Ana de Armas's performance, like portrayal of her. I heard was really strong, but I think like the rest of it, I think a lot of people said was just kind of not great. So, her nomination for the role, not super surprised on, but I don't know. I think that Blonde was just something that was super controversial when it came out.
Agree on all points. And again, I've heard that she, you know, was amazing in the role. And yeah, Marilyn Monroe and like so many other of these iconic stars, you know, whether it's, you know, Madonna or Michael Jackson or, you know, their image is so far beyond who they are as people.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of lose ownership of themselves. And the only thing that would do them justice is to bring it back to, I think, a human, more empathetic take on who they were as a human being. But from what I'm hearing, this goes in the other direction, and it takes this symbol of sexuality in the 50s and 60s and just totally just perverts it and makes it even more just destructive. And again, I like seeing things that inspire or touch me, but I don't want to be just, you know, disgusted. So, okay. All right. All right. Now we don't have a drum roll effect, but maybe I can do one in post. The final nomination is for Best Picture, and this is going to be interesting because I think we're all saying the same thing, but who knows? Who knows? Okay, so a lot of nominations. This is going to be pretty wild. So the nominees for the Best Picture are All's Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun, Maverick, and Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. I didn't know they had that many nominations. You could have that many.
Yeah, they expanded
10,
10 a couple years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, they extended it to 10. Yeah, 10 is the max that you can have.
Yeah, well, they definitely filled up the bracket.
Yeah.
So, Logan, what are your thoughts?
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
It's going to take it home.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think the more interesting question is if by chance, if Everything Everywhere All at Once doesn't get the Best Picture, who do you think would be the second, like, who do you think would be like the runner up? I think that's the question.
Megan, I like where you're going. Let's do Win, Place, and Show. Okay. So I think we all agree that the winner is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Logan, let's go back to you.
Yeah.
Who's the number 2 and 3 on that list, just to make it a reasonable discussion?
Yeah.
2 and 3. Well, that's interesting. God, I think Tar has to be in there.
Hmm.
I think there was enough there between the nominations and the performances that it's probably somewhere in 2 or 3. Um,
Now, Logan, I just want to. Did you do you know what the a lot of a lot of nominations, but do you know what the subject of Tar is about?
Yeah.
Okay, because sometimes that weighs against it's a little controversial as well. I'll just say
it is a little controversial, but I think if we're not going, if we're talking about eliminating the safe bet, then we're looking at, with almost all of these,
that.
a a dark horse for one reason or another. You know, you could say Avatar and going with, oh, who gives the sci-fi one the hit, or Elvis with who gives the crazy one, or
Right.
or Top Gun with well, maybe that's a safe bet, but that has other implications there. Like every single one of these, besides um, the the one that I think we've all already decided is going to walk away with it, has something about it that adds an element of to it.
Mm.
I got you.
So no, I will stay with Tar as one of them, and I don't know. I don't think Avatar would quite make it up there as I don't know, maybe this is a place where Banshees could surprise. I don't know. But if we're gonna go without the safe bet, then I'm gonna lean, just personally, my thoughts, towards a more off off offbeat, unexpected type win. So no, I'll go with Tar or Banshees of Inisherin.
No, that's actually those are good picks, especially
Yeah.
I like how you're talking about the surprise. There's always that Oscar surprise. Megan, what are your thoughts on win, place, and show? Win, obviously, being Everything Everywhere All at Once.
So my second pick is actually also Banshees of Inisherin, just because I think that it would have done a lot better if Everything Everywhere didn't come out this year, like I said, because I know Banshees won a lot, like when they were doing the Golden Globes, because they split the categories between like best movie, like best drama movie, and then best comedy musical movie, and then Everything Everywhere won for the best like musical comedy, but Banshees was the one that won for best drama. So I feel like there's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of momentum for Banshees, and I do think that there's a lot of people who really, really love that film. So if anything, like I still very strongly think that Everything Everywhere is gonna win. Like I feel like it's like a 99%, like you're never 100% sure, but like a 99% like shoe in for that. But if anything were to take it, I definitely think it would be Banshees. That would definitely be my second choice. And then my third choice, I feel like if they were to like play it safe, I feel like it'd be The Fabelmans. Like for whatever reason, I feel like you never know with the Oscars. Like they could just pull a name out of nowhere that you would not expect. So I feel like The Fabelmans would be like a safe bet that they would pull. But I think it'd be interesting. Tar, I feel like is a little too out there for the Oscars. Like it's art. It's like artsy enough for it to get nominated, but I feel like it's too artsy. It doesn't have the same momentum for it to be nominated. But I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once was like super artsy, but also had a lot of momentum. So I feel like that's like the choice that everybody is going for. And I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to win simply because of the fact that like it's not this. You think about it, it's not the safe choice. Like if you think about it, like as a film itself, it's not the safe choice because it's just such a strange. It's like a sci-fi kung fu like immigrant, whatever, all of these things, like all of these films. It's really not, but I think because of that and because of like the backing it's had, I definitely think that it's the strongest choice. But my second choice would be Banshees. I think my third choice would be The Fabelmans.
Both of you are, very good picks. I back up. I back up what you're saying in regards to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Is I think I don't want to say that we're now becoming the Super Bowl of movies, but it kind of is. And, all this hype and all this press and all this, accolades for everything all at once, people are waiting to see them win. And if they don't win, it might make people start to question, what the heck am I watching this for? I don't want to, my favorite movie or the movie that everybody's talking about to not win. So again, Everything Everywhere All at Once will be the win for place. And I like, and Logan, I was definitely not dismissing Tar, because I get exactly what you're saying. And I do.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Tar, I thought was beautiful. And I love watching films that are about somebody in their craft and surrounded by people in that niche universe that are just so elite in what they're doing. It's like a completely different world. Like, you're talking about composers and these, cello players and, orchestral members that are at the peak of just the skill. And it's just really interesting to see inside that world.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what Tar was about until further in. And then I'm like, wow, this is what it's about. It's a Weinstein moment. And I was like, it caught me off guard. But again, beautifully crafted film. And then Cate Blanchett was, she's the new Meryl Streep, but she kills it in almost everything I've seen. But yeah, just, for Oscar, I think that's a little too edgy. And I'm gonna pull some wild cards here too. I think, definitely Banshees is in my top 3 of Oscar, potentials if they were to select 3. But I'm trying to think of what would go in front or behind that. What's funny? For some reason, I keep seeing Elvis, and I'm not really a Baz Luhrmann fan. I think he's, everything is, surreal and exciting, but because Elvis is, like we were talking about, iconic, and almost the opposite direction of what they did with Blonde, where they denigrated her and made her, less than she was in real life. I think Elvis is the version of that they should have done, where it takes this, larger than life character and you see his humanity and his flaws, not in a diminishing type way, but in a humanizing way. And I think Elvis would probably be in there for the Academy. Again, not the best movie in my opinion, but I think Elvis would be a pick. So I'm going to go Everything Everywhere All at Once, Banshees of Inisherin, and Elvis.
Okay.
Yeah. And I definitely think that there's there's certain things that you could see with these films. I think that Elvis has more of a chance because Bohemian Rhapsody won a couple years back. So once one film wins, you're like, oh, this film could win. You know what I mean? So I definitely think that's opened the door for kind of musical, big budget, kind of fun, musical films that everybody kind of really loves. Did Bohemian Rhapsody did win Best Picture, did it? Or was it just nominated? Am I crazy? Or did that win? It didn't win. They got nominated. But I remember it got a lot of buzz, and Rami Malek won for that. So I think because of that, Elvis has a lot of buzz on it too, and there's a lot of buzz now for big musical, big budget films about these famous musicians.
And again, I will say that Austin Butler, the transformation into Elvis was to me. I mean, I've seen different actors portray artists in different mediums, and the ones that always jump out at me are Val Kilmer as Jim Morrison, Jeffrey Wright as Jean-Michel Basquiat, what's his name as Pollock, Ed Harris as Pollock, and Austin Butler as Elvis. I mean, to me, they just embodied those characters so well, and I do think that. Oh, and I'm sorry. Yeah, also Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury. So yeah, I think Elvis would be, up there, just because it was a good story about Elvis. I learned some things I didn't know, and it was really interesting seeing his relationship to the Colonel and what the Colonel was all about, and I think it checked a lot of boxes for me. So there you go, my one place in show.
Yeah. Bohemian Rhapsody was nominated, but they didn't win.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I think
Green Book won that year.
Green Book won that year, yeah, which was an interesting choice. So, but I will say again, this year I think we all agreed that Everything Everywhere All at Once most likely will win Best Picture. And I'm not gonna lie, like a lot of these other categories, like I could see it. Like if it doesn't win, like that'd be fine. Like best like original screenplay, if it doesn't win, that's fine. But I feel like if they don't win Best Picture, I will be upset. Because I get that it's like the shoe-in, but like if you really think about it, like again, like I said, like it's really the oddball film out of all of these. Like it's not the same choice, which is why I'm really, really rooting for it to win. And I really think that if they wanted to go with the safe choices, were my 2 and 3 choices were Banshees and Fablemans. Like they wanted to go safe, but that's really why I'm rooting for Everything Everywhere, just because it's so crazy and original and off the wall that I really wanted to get that recognition, just for like the people out there who but haven't seen it or haven't heard of it and won't see it otherwise if it doesn't win Best Picture. So that's kind of what I want to say in terms of like an ending thing and in terms of Best Picture win.
I agree with you so much, and I think if Everything Everywhere All at Once was not nominated, Banshees would be probably running away with a lot
would
of
have
stuff.
slept, yeah.
I also am just so excited because it's so historically, significant about Michelle Yeoh. Now I know she's like the first Asian woman to be nominated for lead actress, which is again, thanks Hollywood. But I think that is, and I don't want to say it's a given. Nothing's a given, but these are moments. And I seriously don't think the Oscars are going to blow that moment by giving somebody a well-deserved Oscar that is so significant. And so, I mean, again, I was looking over some of her old work, and I'm going to go back through all her Super Cop and all these other films that she's been in over the years, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I mean, I've just seen the ones that made it to the States. I'd love to see some of her stuff that was, so I'm going to have to go do a Michelle Yeoh retrospective and just go through her list. Logan, what are your final thoughts on these wonderful picks that we've all made?
So my final thoughts, I think, are just that I'm excited about Everything Everywhere All at Once winning. I'm excited about what it can do for Michelle Yeoh, for Jamie Lee Curtis, for Hugh Kwan, for all of them that are finally, coming back, getting dues, all of that. I think I'll take a different path and say I'm also concerned that I hope it doesn't change the way A24 does anything that they do. Because a lot of times, once you hit a success or hit it big or something, there's unrealistic pressures, there's expectations of what you think it was that won, or how things are done. And A24 has had I think, extraordinary run of well-picked films that are not all critically acclaimed quite like this, but all have incredible art and incredible worth and incredible value. And I will say that while I'm excited to see them win and get the recognition they well deserve, I also am a little bit of trepidation and hope that it doesn't change the way they select their films, the way they consider what they're going to work on or produce. And I hope that they continue to be able to do what they've done that have brought us not just Everything Everywhere All at Once, but their body of work thus far.
You don't want them to chase the Oscar.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the fastest way to blow it all.
Exactly. Yeah, you're second guessing yourself. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I remember when they first started cranking out movies, and I was just banger after banger, not award, but just art and craft. And
yes,
they all had a similar tone. I'm not going to say that but it was, it was refreshing to see, just a place where you could go and find artistic films and not have to, if you see A24, you kind of know what, not the specific film, but you're going to be in for something that'll make you think and feel and experience something. So
yeah,
exactly.
I agree, and I think that I think they've done a good job so far. Just because I know, like, when they started getting a lot of award recognition, like when Moonlight came out, like in I think that was 2015, 2016. Like when that came out and that became a really big buzz, like in kind of the award season. A24 was like, oh, like we're like. I think that's really when they started getting recognition as like an award-winning company. And like since then they've just been like they've really progressed. And I think this is probably their biggest this will be like their biggest run, I think, as a company in terms of award, like in terms of Oscar season, because like not only Everything Everywhere All at Once, but like if The Whale wins, like The Whale is also an A24 movie. Yep. And then even like even Close, which was the international film that I was talking about, that was also an A24. I think After Sun is also A24. Like, they have a lot of stuff that's coming out like that was nominated for this award season. So I definitely agree. They're definitely picking up a lot like for award season, and I'm really hoping that their company like stays the same. Like they stay the same kind of independent like type of films. They're still making like creating the same kind of content and producing the same content. So I really hope that they stay on that same path.
Exactly. I mean, I'm sure they'll soon start having just like an A24 awards, and we'll just take all the talent.
The A24 awards.
Well, no, that was awesome, and you too. I really appreciate going through this list with you and getting your thoughts on all these nominations. Out there, we want to thank you for watching our choices. Hopefully you'll be watching the Oscars with us, and you can see if our picks matched up with what actually, the awards that we're giving out. I think we had some great choices here. Don't forget, we are on all the social media platforms. We are also on all the podcast platforms. So we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes. Everywhere you get your media, we are there. So, we really appreciate you joining us. We hope you, hopefully you'll keep enjoying movies with us in the future. And remember, if it's worthwhile, it's worth binging.